Greetings to all at the 2021 Asma Jahangir Conference, honouring the work, passion and legacy of the great Asma Jahangir. And today, with a heavy heart, we also have the opportunity to honour my very dear friend, Kamran Arif. It was in fact at the 2019 Asma Jahangir Conference that I last met with Kamran in person. As always, he was busy keeping up with the many calls for his assistance and support. And although he was always busy, he never failed to make time to give his assistance, to share his expertise, his deep knowledge of law and of human rights advocacy. Most of all, he was always willing to share his friendship. It was his integrity, his passion for justice, and the fact that he really cared about making the world a better place that made him the most brilliant human rights lawyer and activist that I have known. Kamran was always there for those who were most marginalized, most brutalized, and threatened by state and society. At great personal risk and at great cost, he worked tirelessly to support minority communities, those wrongfully accused of blasphemy, the bonded labourers in brick kilns, women on death row. He was passionate about the injustice of the death penalty and rigorously documented miscarriages of justice and sought to bring about change in the criminal justice system, drawing on the tools of international human rights law, constitutional rights, the rule of law, its ideals, and documenting the testimonies of victims, the stories of the human rights violations that they endured, to shine a light on those human rights violations that are so often forgotten or ignored by many in our society today. Just weeks before his death, Kamran was attending meetings and a press conference to highlight enforced disappearances, arbitrary killings in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region, and the targeting of human rights defenders in arbitrary and extrajudicial killings, involuntary and enforced disappearances. Despite the sometimes overwhelming odds against the fight for justice, Kamran always persisted. His commitment and integrity inspired many young lawyers and human rights activists. He became the key person to turn to for advice, for guidance, for hope in the possibility of securing justice. And his expertise was called on by many international organizations, NGOs, civil society, human rights lawyers globally. I first met Kamran in 1992. He was one of my first students. When I was a lecturer at the Faculty of Law, Peshawar University, on the faculty's first LLM program. He was a very bright and brilliant student, always looking for ways to use the law and legal tools to achieve justice, to support those denied the equal protection of the law. We traveled together to the northern areas in 1993 on the first Human Rights Commission HRCP fact-finding mission to investigate political rights, the denial of political rights in the northern areas, meeting with activists in Gilgit and Baltistan. We had many adventures on the long and sometimes dangerous road journeys. Kamran remained deeply committed to the fight for political rights for Gilgit, Baltistan, and for the tribal areas, subject to the punitive discriminatory frontier crimes regulations, legacy of a colonial era that persisted post-independence. Kamran was well known to the people of the tribal areas living at the margins of rights as he was to the bright lights of Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, New York, Geneva. He was always deeply committed to the rights of Afghan people and introduced me to the work of the Pak-Afghan Friendship Commission. I know that he would be deeply disturbed by the return of the Taliban to power. And if he were with us now, would be working tirelessly to support Afghan refugees. and to shine a light on violence against women and girls, against minorities, against human rights defenders in Afghanistan today. I look to Kamran and his legacy for guidance in my work, and I hope that we can honour his legacy by continuing his work to ensure access to justice for those most often denied justice and rights. Thank you.